Well, hello everyone. It's Sibyl Star. I'm here to give the astrology for the Capricorn New Moon of 2024. Some of you may have noticed my absence for a few weeks. I had a few little health things come up, nothing big, but that I was dealing with. Mainly, I'm going to say solar flares. They were really impacting me. Anyway, I'm no longer going to be doing the Monday morning astrology, just so you know. It's kind of run its course, and there's just some other things that I'm going to be doing. I'm still open for readings, and I'll still continue with the new moon, full moon reports. And I will also continue with my monthly Meet Your Star Nation relatives video that I'm in the process of doing. I didn't do one this month. Instead, I did a PowerPoint for the astrology of upcoming year. If you haven't seen it, it's got a lot of great, really great information. It's in a PowerPoint. You can take screenshots. Anyway, it's lovely. Next month, I will be doing, as far as Meet the Star Nation relatives, we're going to meet the dragons because the dragon star nation and the star nation of Draco, as well as the other stars that were there are called dragon stars. Because we're moving into the year of the dragon this year. 2024 is the year of the wood dragon. And so we're going to really explore what that means because, you know, the dragons are just so here in our consciousness. All right, but now let's move on to the Capricorn New Moon, which occurs at 20 degrees, 44 minutes of Capricorn on January 11th at 3:58 p.m. Pacific. All right, so I'm going to screen share here and we'll look at the chart. All right, so here is the chart for the new moon. So to begin with, we have, of course, the sun and the moon at 20 degrees, 44 minutes of Capricorn. This new moon is widely conjunct Pluto. Pluto's at 29 degrees. So it's like pretty close to a 9-degree conjunction, which really we only look at usually, you know, in a transit chart or in a personal chart. But anyway, so this is up here in Capricorn. And we also have Mars in Capricorn. So we have actually 4 planets in Capricorn right now. And the new moon is in a square to the nodes of the moon exact. They're each at 20 degrees. We've got 20 degrees of Capricorn square, 20 degrees of the north node is at 20 degrees Aries. The south node is at 20 degrees Libra. This north node is also conjunct Chiron and Eris. And so we'll be talking a little bit about what that could mean. The ruler of this new moon is Saturn, of course. And so Saturn is in Pisces in a super magical place. And we'll be talking about that. Saturn isn't usually thought of as magical, but there are times when Saturn can be, because Saturn is very much about manifestation. We also have the new moon is in a trine, a very tight trine to Uranus in Taurus. So this is very magical as well. So we've got some very grounded, practical energy of Capricorn, along with some very magical energy. Now, this Mars in Capricorn, as well as in a trine here to Jupiter. That's a wonderful, easy flow. And they're both sextile Saturn, 60 degrees apart. So that's a really nice aspect. We have Mercury. We've got Mercury and Venus. Mercury is in Sagittarius at 27 degrees, conjunct the Galactic Center. Venus is at 15 degrees of Sagittarius, conjunct the Great Attractor. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that means. And in between them, we have Ceres, you know, the great mother goddess. I am going to also be talking a little bit about since I'm no longer doing the Monday morning astrology, I'm going to be talking just a little bit about what happens in between the new moon and the full moon, any astrology that happens. All right. So let us begin. Okay. All right. So what does this all mean? We've seen all of this. What does it mean? Well, First off, the sun being in Capricorn, we really move. We've got 4 planets in Capricorn. So it's a very strong Capricorn energy. And Capricorn occurs in the middle of winter here in the Northern Hemisphere and the challenges that winter brings. Capricorn prepares us for this. It's character building. It's about responsibility. Capricorn's very grounded, practical energy, asks us to be fully present to meet each challenge, as well as needing solitude to recharge our batteries. After, the excitement of the winter holidays, Capricorn says it's a time to get back to work, to get grounded, to get realistic, discerning. Where people often start weight loss plans, detoxification, going to the gym. It's like people start to recognize we got to come back in, pull ourselves into this, to our own center. And so we need solitude to do that. So it's really important to take some time for yourself, even in the midst of this busy time, to really connect with your inner self. Capricorn is the archetype of the elder and brings wisdom. It is a master course in the mastery of the ego self. And Capricorn is about wisdom. It's about the elder and wisdom, but it is the wisdom that is gained through living. It's a wisdom that you can't learn in any book. Some might call it common sense, but it's more than that. It's a deep wisdom, a deep understanding of long-term planning, or the long haul, put it that way. Okay. It's a realistic, practical, discerning energy, requires responsibility, maturity, integrity, and character. It is ruled by Saturn, the Lord of karma. And Saturn and Capricorn both say slow down and focus. It is like, you could use the analogy of, climbing a mountain when Capricorn comes around. And so it requires us to get organized, to know what we're doing, and to slow down, to focus and pay attention. Okay. It's not always necessarily a super fun energy, although Capricorn can have a very dry sense of humor. Truly, some of the funniest people I've ever encountered in my life have been Capricorns. But it's very dry. It's kind of like you kind of don't expect it coming. Okay. But its symbol is the sea goat, because it's about creating form or structure out of the formless. Capricorn and Saturn are manifestors. They say without Saturn, everything remains a dream. It can have a very difficult inner judge, though, because there's a sense of ambition and a sense of, like I said, climbing that mountain. And so I always tell people with Capricorn energy, it's so important not to just see how far you have to go, but how far you have come. Okay, because be able to look back and say, yeah, this has been challenging. And Capricorn is also related to the ancestors, and of course just the wisdom that comes from the ancestors, but also the conditioning. There's a lot of conditioning of who we are. There was a beautiful meme once I remember saying, it said something like, she's releasing 1,000 years of conditioning. And that's really what we're doing. That's one of the pieces here, is to recognize what is conditioning and what is truly us. Anyway, so there's an inner judge there. And it's important to understand that sometimes Capricorn believes others are judging them, when the truth is, it's them judging themselves, being really hard on themselves. But it is the shadow is judgment, and I'm going to say judgment is different from discernment. We all need to have discernment of what is in our highest good and what is not. So that is a form of judgment, but I'd like to call that as discernment. I think judgment is when we label something good or bad. Everything is as it is, and it either serves us or it doesn't. Okay. All right, and some other shadows can be emotionally cold, frustrated, and it could be a rigid adherence to the rules. Okay. All right. The Sabian symbol for this Capricorn New Moon is a relay race. And so what that says to me, it's about people working together to accomplish a goal. A relay race is also a metaphor for the passing of responsibility from one generation to another. You know, sometimes it's just important to recognize when it's time to let something go. And if you want your team to win, it's to, you know, pass on the responsibilities to someone else. And then they carry it and then they pass it on. Okay. Now, this new moon is also trine Uranus, and Uranus is related to the divine mind. And so it could bring in some innovative new ideas that show us the way forward, you know, where old rules and tradition need updating. You know, just because something has always been the way it is important, but it's also important to see if something needs updated so that it really fits the energy of what we're actually living in. Okay. As I said, as I showed you, this new moon is widely conjunct Pluto. And it's in the last degree of Pluto, 29 degrees, which is an anaretic degree. And we know an anaretic degree is called the last chance saloon. Often a crisis will ensue when a planet is at a 29 degrees if the work hasn't been done, if whatever it is that needs to be done has not been done. And as we know, Pluto is going to be moving into Aquarius on January 20th. But for 2.5 months, from September 1st to the middle of November, it's going to move back into 29 degrees of Capricorn. So 29 degrees of Capricorn is not done with us yet. We've got a few more days. Let's see. What is it? About 10 days. Yeah, about 10 days. Okay. All right. But with Pluto and Capricorn, it asks us to be able to look at what is dying, what is no longer working. We may have some emotional attachment to something that is just not working well. And it's just like, I don't want to let go of it because I have this attachment to it. But the thing is, it's not serving you, at least in the form that it is in. So the updating maybe need to happen, either updating or letting it go. Okay. But also hold on to what is working. It may be the framework of something, but the details, the framework is good, but some details need to shift and change. Okay. And of course, on our world stage, we're seeing continued revelations of corruption at the deepest level of our institutions. The bones or the structures have become corrupted, not just the people, it is the actual institution, the bones are broken and the system is corrupted. And Pluto in Aquarius is coming in, is a systems buster. Okay. And also tells us to be aware of our inner judge, to understand a lot of the negative self-talk is conditioning. If it is unkind, it is not your soul speaking. Okay. All right. Now, this new moon is conjunct something called the Lyra Ring Nebula. Is part of the Lyra constellation. Well, from our perspective, you know, it's actually a nebula. They say it's a portal to other dimensions, and many very elevated beings come through that portal. Okay. But Julia Balaz, who I studied galactic astrology with, says through her QHHT work that what she has noticed is that this particular point, if when it's activated, is carrying an ancestral imprinting that this world is not a safe place, because these elevated beings came into the Lyra constellation through this portal, and they really, you know, they basically helped create many of the beings and structures here in the Milky Way system. But one of the things that also came out of the Lyra system was war. It was where war first broke out in our Milky Way galaxy, according to galactic history from different people that have channeled it. Okay. But anyway, so I feel like this is a part of the conditioning, you know, that we are releasing. As we bring this conditioning to awareness, we can release it. But with Pluto involved, we need to feel it to heal it. We may have some fear come up, to just know that if we feel the world is not a safe place, that's what's going to manifest for us. And so it's really important to shift that perspective within ourselves. And if the fear comes up, breathe through it. Okay. This new moon is also square the nodes of the moon, Chiron and Eris. And I feel like this is very much a balance between self and other so that we can work together to accomplish our goals. But it may trigger some old wounds around boundaries, you know, where we give too much, where we, or too little. Okay, what are our boundaries there? When are we over giving and when are we being, you know, holding on to stuff? Being selfish, I guess, is a word. The goal is self-sovereignty while in relationship with others. Okay. So there's some really, it's very much a relationship kind of a teaching. Well, with the Libra, Aries, nodes of the moons, it's very much about that balance between self and other and being able to heal the polarity consciousness within ourselves, you know, the us versus them. These are all teachings to help us release that. Yes, okay. And to integrate that polarity that lives within ourselves so that we don't project it outward, you know. All right. So Saturn, of course, is the ruler of this new moon, and Saturn is actually in a very magical spot. Saturn is conjunct, is at 3 to 4 degrees of Pisces, very nicely placed, and is conjunct two fixed stars that are very magical. The first one is called Fomalhaut. It is at 4 degrees of Pisces. It's a royal star of Persia and the star of Archangel Gabriel. The Persians believed there were 4 stars that held up the heavens, and each one of these stars was connected to a different archangel. And so this one is connected to Archangel Gabriel, who is a messenger of the gods. But it brings with it an idealism, a touch of the mystic, a sense of magic, and it can bestow charisma. It's like the child stolen by the fairies. They say in the actual world of Fomalhaut, because beings do live there, that there's magical gardens and unicorns. It's a very magical place, okay? And the second star is called Deneb Adage, and it's at 5 degrees of Pisces in the constellation of Cygnus the Swan. And we know swans are very magical beings. They have been in so many folklore and fairy tales, and but it's a very magical star. And some say it is the stellar cradle for the fairies and the elves, like the birthplace of the elves in our Milky Way galaxy. It is also known as the shaman star. The shamans of the Altai Mountains in Siberia are deeply connected to this star. Actually, they're called the people of the swan. So, and there are some temples in Egypt, and I believe one is the Osirian. They say is aligned with Cygnus, and Göbekli Tepe in Turkey is aligned with Cygnus. So anyway, there is magic in the field, even if we're in the midst of Capricorn and being, you know, really practical. But often, you know, it is in the present moment is when we experience magic. And Capricorn really keeps you in the present moment. Okay. All right. Mercury, god of the mind, is in Sagittarius at this new moon. Is very visionary and optimistic. It asks us to elevate our thoughts and to know that at the new moon, Mercury is conjunct the Galactic Center. And as we've been learning about in many of my most recent videos, that, you know, it is said to be a portal to the great central sun and prime creator, the source of all that is. So it's having our minds, getting downloads, getting messages, getting, cosmic downloads and new solutions to old problems, and new pathways in our nervous system, or what is called our highway of light is activated. Okay. And you know, the light carries data and information and upgrades. And so our ability to take in these new ideas from the divine mind. Okay. All right. And Mercury does move into Capricorn, though, on January 14th. And when Mercury is in Capricorn, our thinking is methodical and our focus is once again realistic, practical. How do I deal with this current situation, problem solving. But it's also trine Jupiter from January 17th to the 22nd. And so to remember to elevate your thoughts and that the attitude of gratitude can shift your consciousness. You know, it's like when you're going along in your day and kind of sometimes you get a little depressed, you get tired, you get exhausted, whatever's happening. We can just stop and say thank you and see our blessings and how that shifts our whole consciousness, and it uplifts us, and it does elevate our thoughts. Okay. And remember, too, the opposite is, you know, with Capricorn, we can move into worry. And you know what they say, you know, worry is a prayer to create something you don't want, because where we focus our energy is what we are creating. All right. So talked about, we have Mars in Capricorn. Mars, of course, you know, he's the warrior, but he's also the one that gets stuff done. He's the doer. He's, let's just do it. And Mars is actually exalted in Capricorn, meaning that there is an ability to organize energy and get things done when Mars is in Capricorn. People that I have known with Mars in Capricorn get stuff done. All right. So, and it's trine Jupiter. So it's having the wind at your back to make accomplishments. This is really a great new moon to set intentions about what you want to accomplish in the next 30 days. You know, as long as it is reasonable and practical, you should be able to do it, such as, you know, getting a gym program started, doing a detox, cleaning your house, getting organized, kind of really kind of like setting the foundation for the coming year, getting things organized. Yeah. And it is a great time to do a cleanse of your body for the new year. And I know there's many out there right now. I might even go to a class on one. Anyway, the last planet we're going to talk about is Venus, goddess of love. At this new moon, she is conjunct a point called the Great Attractor, which I just find super fascinating, because Venus herself is an attractor. She is magnetic energy. She is the part of our consciousness that draws people to us. Okay. Mars is where we go out and get what we want. Venus is what we draw to us. And so she's now in alignment with the Great Attractor, which is the place in our Milky Way galaxy that functions like an engine pulling us to it. And they say pulling or attracting us to it. There's said to be over 100 galaxies on the other side of this. They used to call it a black hole. Now they've redefined it. Anyway, so Venus being in alignment with the Great Attractor could be a powerful time of attraction. And Venus is at 14 degrees. I should bring that up. She's at 15 degrees, I believe, 15 degrees of Sagittarius. So if you have any planets around there or an aspect to it, a trine would be lovely. A trine or a conjunction, I would say, could be a powerful time of attraction, romantically or financially, as those are both areas that Venus rules. Or we may find ourselves strongly attracted to someone without understanding why. You know, there may be something to learn from this person, a reason that spirit is really drawing you in that direction. But Venus will also be conjunct the Galactic Center on January 19th, once again at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. So I feel like it's about being open to the divine love that is pouring in to our solar system and into Mother Earth. Okay. All right. Venus continues. I just want to finish this up for the month. She does change signs before the next new full moon, which was on January 25th. So Venus enters Capricorn on January 23rd. And so, you know, Venus in Sagittarius, you know, is very adventurous. She's a fire. She's, you know, looking for truth and excitement and adventure. But in Capricorn, she gets serious. And so she says, now it's time to get serious about our finances, more, you know, especially, you know, the first of the year, and we have our taxes coming up, you know, and at least here in the US. but it could also be more serious about our feelings. We may realize that we want to make some emotional commitments, okay? And Venus trines Jupiter on January 28th, an easy flow of good energy, financial opportunities, may also have some lovely social events. And the last thing I want to talk about is the Sun and Pluto are both entering Aquarius on January 20th. They're coming in together. Um, and so it's a very powerful shift of energy. They're just hours apart. And I have called my astrology forecast for 2024 a quantum paradigm shift, because I feel like this shift into Pluto is a quantum paradigm shift. That is what is happening. Pluto in Aquarius is a revolution in consciousness and remembering who we are as we step more deeply into the age of Aquarius. And if you would like to see my video, Quantum Paradigm Shift, the Astrology of 2024, go to my YouTube channel, which you're probably watching this video on. Go to my page and you can find it there. All right. Well, wishing everyone a very wonderful and happy 2024. May you get a lot accomplished in this Capricorn New Moon. May you find yourself a little grounded and centered and a building of a foundation to really build upon this year. All right. Many blessings to all and namaste.